Hello and welcome. My name is Pete Bellotta, and thanks for joining me as we prepare to talk shop. This program is part of an ongoing series designed to teach you how to be productive and stay competitive in an ever-changing automotive industry. Today, we're going to focus our attention on how to stay safe inside the shop. Remember, unless you know how to use tools, operate machinery, and handle hazardous waste properly, the shop can be a dangerous place. This program covers 4 specific areas of shop safety broken down into 2 video cassettes. On tape 1, you'll find general safety and handling hazardous materials. Tape 2 covers safety underneath the hood as well as under the car. Now, let's get started with a look at personal safety. The only thing that matters when it comes to fashion in the automobile shop is that the clothing and accessories you wear help to protect you. The first piece of protective gear that must be worn at all times in the shop is safety glasses. Many eye injuries occur to automotive technicians who aren't wearing safety glasses while other jobs are taking place. Anyone in the area without safety glasses is at risk. For those of you who wear corrective lenses, make sure that the lenses are shatterproof. Otherwise, you'll still need to wear the safety goggles over your own glasses. Uniforms or coveralls are the best clothing for automotive work. Clothing should be kept clean and fitted, promoting a professional image at all times. All cuffs and sleeves should be hemmed properly. Clothing that's too long can get caught in the machinery, resulting in injury. Footwear is also important. Although it's not necessary for shoes to be steel-tipped, they should be made of hard leather in case of accidents. The sole should be constructed of an oil-resistant, non-skid material such as neoprene. While sneakers are great for daily footwear, they are not a good option in the automotive repair shop. They offer no protection from falling tools or machinery and should never be worn in the shop area. Another item that should not be worn while working in the shop is jewelry. Be sure to remove all necklaces, rings, and watches. Jewelry that is made of gold or silver are good conductors of electricity and take only a matter of seconds to heat and could possibly melt and cause severe burns. Like necklaces, long hair can get caught on anything spinning and should be kept tied back or protected under a cap. Fire extinguishers, panic buttons, eye wash stands, and first aid box locations should be properly labeled, visible, and memorized. Make sure the fire extinguishers are placed throughout the shop in easily accessible locations. Be sure to know how to use a fire extinguisher. All extinguishers have a safety key. This key must be pulled before the extinguisher can be used. There are 3 types of fires, each requiring a specific type of fire extinguisher. Class A is a wood and paper fire. This type of fire can be put out with pressurized water, CO2 gas, or dry chemical extinguishers. A Class B fire involves gasoline and oil. The CO2 gas extinguisher should be used on this type of fire. Class C are electrical fires. Use a dry chemical extinguisher on this type of fire. There should also be no smoking permitted anywhere in the shop due to hazardous materials and fumes. Depending on the size of the shop, there may be more than one way to exit. Always know where the closest exit is located. Make sure that the exit is clearly marked and kept clear of any obstructions. Equipment and tools should be kept clean and arranged in a neat and orderly manner. This will not only improve the safety level of the shop, but it will also increase shop efficiency. When a spill occurs, wipe it up immediately to prevent slip and fall accidents. When cleaning up spills, it's important to know what the spill is, so shop wipers and cleaning material can be disposed of properly. Also, be sure to clean periodically with a biodegradable detergent to prevent the buildup of dirt and oil. If a service has been contracted to launder used wipers, you'll need to store them in a special fireproof container prior to pickup from the service. Frequency and quantity of pickup by the service will depend on how often the wipers are used for cleanup. Guidelines for disposal and removal can be found in the shop or by calling your local or state municipality for proper handling. It's important to always keep tools and equipment clean and in proper working order. Screwdrivers, punches, and chisels should be kept dressed. This means the tips should be kept in their original shape at all times. When dressing chisels, the object is to renew the end struck by the hammer. Over time, this end flattens out and begins mushrooming. Eventually, small cracks begin forming around the edge. These cracked pieces can fly off like shrapnel when struck by the hammer. To dress the end of the chisel, hold the chisel horizontally at a 45-degree angle to the grinding wheel. Run the chisel head across the entire width of the grinding wheel while twisting the chisel. Continue this procedure until the head of the chisel has a clean chamfered circumference. Be sure to wear safety glasses and proper attire when dressing the tools. When dressing screwdrivers, place the tool securely in a vise. Then, with a hand file, stroke the file across the screwdriver tip, making sure that the file remains perpendicular to the screwdriver to assure a squared-off tip. Toolboxes or portable rolling carts used by technicians should be kept clean and orderly for safety, efficiency, and appearance. Make sure wheels are fastened securely and are kept lubricated for easy motion. If the wheels have safety locks, be sure they're in good working order. When working out of your toolbox, be careful not to open too many drawers at once, as the toolbox is capable of falling over. Some of the work in the automotive shop involves particles or gases that are dangerous to breathe. The most common danger is carbon monoxide from a running engine. Carbon monoxide is odorless, colorless, and tasteless, and if these fumes accumulate, they can be fatal. So never run a vehicle's engine inside without proper ventilation. The preferred way to ventilate a shop is through forced ventilation. With the hose connected to the vehicle's exhaust pipe, gases are drawn out through the ceiling or through a trap door in the floor. If neither of these is available, open the shop doors. Make sure that the back of the vehicle is closest to the open door. Fasteners are classified according to their tensile strength. They may be classified according to the Society of Automotive Engineers, or SAE, or International Standard Organization, the ISO. SAE bolts are identified by line markings on the head of the bolt. No lines equal a grade 2 bolt, which is the weakest. 3 lines equal a grade 5 bolt and is the most common. 6 lines equal a grade 8 bolt, which is the strongest. ISO uses numbers from 4.6 to 10.9, with 4.6 equaling the weakest and 10.9 equaling the strongest. If the electrical problem is causing fuses to blow, then somewhere in the circuit there's a short to ground. Use a fuse jumper wire or circuit breaker to find the problem. Be sure the breaker has the same amperage rating as the circuit. Circuit breakers allow you to work on the problem circuit without causing any other damage. Do not use a fuse wrapped in tin foil. This will find the problem area all right, but it will also create more problems by burning wires and possibly starting a fire. Use extreme caution when removing a steering wheel on a vehicle that is equipped with an airbag. To begin, make sure that the front wheels are pointing straight ahead, and then turn the ignition switch to the lock position and remove the key. Next, remove the airbag fuse from the fuse panel. Now, disconnect the airbag harness connectors located underneath the instrument panel. These connectors are usually colored yellow or orange. Before continuing, take a 10-minute break. This will allow time for the Diagnostic Energy Reserve module to deactivate. With the airbag system disabled, remove the screws from the back of the steering wheel. Now, pull the airbag away from the steering wheel and unplug the yellow connector. Carry the airbag module with the trim side facing away from your body. And then place the trim side up in a location away from loose objects. Compressed air is another frequently used component of the automotive shop. Air pressure is regulated at 90 psi, or pounds per square inch, by OSHA standards. Compressed air is used for tools such as impact wrenches, air ratchets, air chisels, air grinders, and blowguns. Whenever using these air tools, keep them oiled as to prevent moisture in the air lines from creating rust in the tool. If possible, drain moisture from the shop air lines as part of routine maintenance. Care must be taken when handling any tool that uses compressed air. For example, only OSHA-approved blowguns should be used. Never contact your skin directly with a blowgun. This will induce air bubbles into the bloodstream, which can be fatal. Also, don't point the gun in anyone's direction. It's possible for debris to be in the air lines and can be shot out of the blowgun. As always, be sure to wear your safety glasses. The 21st century has brought us into the world of hybrid vehicles. These hybrid vehicles use a combination of gasoline engines and electric motors with battery packs as power plants. Extra care must be taken when working around these vehicles, as the voltages can be as high as 500 volts or more. Considering most homes today run on 220 volts, these vehicles are packing twice the voltage running through your house. For purposes of demonstration, we will be using the Toyota Prius as our training vehicle. The following precautions must be observed when working on these vehicles. Treat every orange circuit as if it is hot until you have proven otherwise. Make sure the ignition is off and secure the key in your possession at all times. Disconnect the negative terminal on the 12-volt auxiliary battery. Before servicing any high-voltage components, you must wear high-voltage rubber gloves and inspect them for leaks prior to use. A quick way to inspect them is to blow them up and see if they'll hold air. With the gloves on, disconnect the service plug on the high-voltage battery pack and tape up the service plug receptacles. Now wait 5 minutes before doing any service work. This is very important. It takes 5 minutes for the capacitors to discharge the high voltage after being disconnected. Verify 0 volts in the high voltage circuit before removing any high voltage component. Okay, now that we've got general safety under our belt, let's turn our attention to handling hazardous waste. Hazardous waste is a serious concern for those working in an automotive shop. One must fully understand the proper handling and disposal procedures with any of the hazardous material found in the shop. There are 2 government agencies that provide guidelines for handling hazardous waste. They are the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, and OSHA. The EPA has jurisdiction in all 50 states and is in charge of monitoring and enforcing all environmental regulations passed by Congress. If a company fails to comply with these regulations, the EPA can enforce the regulations through fines, imprisonment, and closure of business. OSHA is an agency that has enforcement powers to protect the health and welfare of workers. OSHA's regulations apply to all employers and employees. Non-compliance with any of these regulations can mean warnings, fines, imprisonment, and even closure of business, just as in the case of the EPA. OSHA is also responsible for enforcing the Hazardous Communication Standard, otherwise referred to as the Employee Right to Know. These regulations deal directly with employee safety in terms of clothing, equipment, chemical use, hazardous waste handling, and so on. There are many materials within the automotive shop that can be classified as hazardous. That's why it's best when working with a new or unfamiliar substance to always treat it as hazardous waste. Now, hazardous waste not only has the potential to damage the environment, but it can also cause great harm to humans and wildlife as well. Now let's take a look at some of the characteristics of the most common types of hazardous waste found in an automotive shop. Ignitable materials can catch fire, so look for the temperature or flash point of the ignitable material listed on the container. Gasoline and cleaning solvents are a good example. Corrosive substances eat through materials and human tissue. Some examples are floor cleaners and battery acid. Reactive materials can be explosive and produce toxic gases when mixed with water, air, or other materials. Toxic substances have the potential to leach hazardous chemicals into the environment, which can be determined by special laboratory testing. Used engine oil and sludge from shop drains are considered toxic. If not disposed of or recycled properly, these materials are hazardous to the environment, and special cleanup and removal procedures would have to be followed. Gasoline is one of the most highly flammable liquids used in the automotive shop and must be stored in improved containers. A gas can should be used with a secure cap if stored for any length of time. When finished with the gas can, always tighten the cap to prevent fumes from escaping. If storing indoors, gasoline should be kept inside a ventilated metal cabinet or off the floor away from other hazardous materials. Gasoline is also an irritant and will eventually be absorbed into the body if not washed off. Gasoline contains chemicals such as benzene, which is a carcinogenic, known to be harmful to children as well as adults, so it's important to handle gasoline safely. Do not smoke, have any open flames, or create any sparks around gasoline. In the early days, gasoline was used to clean parts. However, with the availability of parts washers today, gasoline should never be used to clean parts or tools. Coolant, also known as antifreeze, is another waste substance you'll need proper procedures to handle. Coolant can enter your body through skin absorption, inhalation, ingestion, skin or eye contact, so precautions are necessary. Protective clothing, safety glasses, and gloves should be worn at all times. If coolant gets on your skin, be sure to wash it off immediately with soap and water. Be sure to check with local authorities for the proper disposal procedures in your area. Never dump coolant into the groundwater system, including a septic system. This is especially true for used coolant since it has a heavy metal content and is deadly to the environment. Remember to never mix coolant and motor oil into the same container. If you cross-contaminate, the recycler will not accept the containers. When servicing the vehicle's cooling system, the recommended procedure is to use a 50-50 mix of antifreeze and water. This concentration will give you freeze protection down to -34 degrees and boil-over protection up to 265 degrees Fahrenheit. Waste oil is also considered hazardous. This includes transmission and power steering fluid. These fluids are ignitable substances and should be kept away from any source of flame, including cigarettes, matches, or tools using flame. Remember that with normal use, engine oil does become contaminated. Contact could produce toxic effects within your body, causing breathing difficulty, skin irritation, and headaches. It's important to keep in mind waste oil is a carcinogen. When storing waste oil in the shop, specific regulations need to be followed. Be sure oil drums are tightly sealed and have no cracks or gaps. Remember that all fluid with a petroleum base can be collected in the same container. Oil, automatic transmission fluid, and power steering fluid are a good example of this. A recycler will collect these oils if mixed together, but under no conditions will they take oil that has been mixed with antifreeze. This is especially true of used antifreeze since it has a heavy metal content and is deadly to the environment. The storage area must be clearly marked and posted with a sign that indicates hazardous waste. Each container should be visibly labeled waste oil, hazardous waste, or toxic. The container should be tightly closed except when adding or removing oil. Containers and containment areas should be checked at least once a week for leakage and deterioration. When disposing of used oil filters, the filter should be drained for at least 8 hours. Once thoroughly drained, store the filter in a container for removal by a contractor. Once removed, it's the law for a shop to show proof that the hazardous waste has been disposed of through a state and federal licensed contractor. Be sure to get a receipt or certificate showing the gallons taken and the date of service. Keep the receipts for future protection. While servicing the air conditioning system, you could be dealing with refrigerants requiring special safety handling procedures. An ideal refrigerant should be stable, non-combustible, non-toxic, and a non-irritating chemical. Researchers believe that the use of certain refrigerants have contributed to the hole in the ozone layer, which is responsible for filtering out most of the sun's harmful ultraviolet rays. That's why the refrigerant R12 is no longer used and has been replaced by a more environmentally friendly refrigerant known as R134A. Due to the effects of refrigerant, you must be sure to wear safety glasses at all times. Refrigerant can freeze your eyes, skin, or anything it comes in contact with, causing irreversible damage. Never expose refrigerant to an open flame, since poisonous gases may be generated. When servicing refrigerant, note that R134A is not interchangeable with R12, so there will be a need for separate sets of hoses, gauges, charging and recycling equipment. The service fittings that accommodate R134A are the quick disconnect type, as opposed to the threaded Schrader valve type found on R12 systems. The difference in fittings helps avoid contamination of the system with refrigerant or oil. You'll also notice that containers of R12 are white, while containers of R134A are blue. Refrigerants should be recycled at all times without exception, and material disposal procedures followed carefully. Never, under any circumstances, release refrigerant into the atmosphere. Refrigerants can cause severe physical and environmental damage.